Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, and we're going to talk about the Wright Brothers Bicycle Shop, and why, if you're a Dungeon Pastor or if you're a Relic Runner, you really need to start buying Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition immediately, in my humble opinion. Let's go. All right, so I have a beautiful wife who has family in Louisville, Kentucky. All right, and once a year, my whole family will go down. My family will go down there, and I'll join them every 2 or 3 years, based on my work schedule, right? So recently, we went to Louisville, Kentucky, the entire family went together. We drove, right, because we made a money here, right? And on the way, we dropped our two youngest kids who still live at home. One of them is a senior, and one of them is a just started high school, right? So they're a freshman in high school. So we got a high school freshman and high school senior. So we dropped them off at Kentucky Kingdom, and me and my wife were gonna be in Cincinnati, and we had a whole day to spend. So we just dropped them off, let them run around with our oldest daughter, who just graduated college, right? So the three of them are just going to run around Kentucky Kingdom. We wouldn't do anything but slow them down. So me and my wife were going to have a day all to ourselves in Cincinnati, right? We actually did have that day. We went to the American Sign Museum, and we went to a Lucky Cat Museum in Cincinnati that was absolutely incredible. Now, those are what we did. We also ate at Skyline Chili. If you're ever in Cincinnati, Ohio, go to Skyline Chili. It is super dope. It's chili on spaghetti, and it's a lot better than it sounds, right? I actually loved it. It was really, really good. So we had a great day, right? Now, but here's the sad note, right? So when we planned our day in Cincinnati, me and my wife, one of the things that was on the list was, I said to my wife, "Hey, I want to go to the Wright Brothers bicycle shop." And she's like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, the Wright Brothers, they invented flight." And she's like, "I know that, right?" Like, and they invented flight, and they had a bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio. And she's like, "Is it a museum?" I'm like, "No, it's not a museum. It's literally the building that they were in, right?" And it's just there. And actually, I'm going to warn you, dearest wife, it's actually really run down, and it's literally just a building, and I don't think we can even go in there. So we're going to drive to Dayton, Ohio, and we're going to stand next to a broke down old building that the Wright brothers made bicycles in, right? And she's like, heck to the no. And I was like, oh, sad face, because I legit wanted to go, right? We wouldn't even have been able to go in, right? We would have literally just peered through some dusty, glass windows. But me, I would have been like, oh my gosh, the Wright brothers, who invented flight and got us to the moon, right? Like, eventually, they made bicycles here. And I love all those things. I love flight, and I love space, and I love bicycles. So literally just peering through some dusty glass windows and just being next to the building would have been made me thrilled, right? My wife's like, "Nah, we ain't doing that." Right? So I'm like, all right, I get it, right? So we did these other things, right? Well, because I did that search to look up what was in Dayton, Ohio, right? Guess what? They served me up a notification that says, the building you tried to visit 6 months ago is now going to be razed to the ground and destroyed. And I was like, what? Right? So Dayton, Ohio just voted to destroy the Wright Brothers bicycle shop. And it made international news, right? Now, why are we talking about it? Here's why. You know how things die? You know how things get destroyed? You know how, buildings fall and things that other people like Gary Gygax have built really strong and really well? You know how they get razed to the ground and are on a pile of dust? It's from neglect, okay? So when people who love a thing neglect it. I love the Wright brothers. I love space flight, right? I love, airplane flight, right? I love bicycles. I love all those things, right? But I neglected it, and I didn't go, right? Instead, I went and saw a Lucky Cat Museum. And guess what? Dayton, Ohio's like, you didn't come. You didn't eat at the Skyline Chili in our neighborhood. And because of that, we're going to tear this thing to the ground, and we're going to build a Starbucks. I don't know what they're going to build there. I'm guessing a Starbucks. Whatever. Who cares? It's gonna like. It's what's it matter, right? Like we as a nation are saying the people who invented flight, they can go kick rocks, right? Like they can go jump in a lake, and I'm like, oh, this is so frustrating, right? So here's the kicker, all right? I love Dungeons and Dragons, right? And I want it to live and to survive, all right? Now, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition players are doing what they can, who buy the books, right? Or buy D&D Beyond, are doing what they can to make sure that the building of Dungeons & Dragons isn't razed to the ground someday to the surprise of everybody, right? But the dungeon pastors and the relic runners are not, okay? So basically, if you're a dungeon pastor and you run primarily, at the 51%, you run Dungeons & Dragons 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E, 5E, Beckme, Moldvay, Holmes, White Box, all those. And you're also like, I'm not buying 5th edition because I don't like it. Then basically what's going to happen is, in my opinion, you're on the side of the building getting razed, right? Like you're on the side of letting Dungeons and Dragons die, in my humble opinion. If you're a relic runner, right? If you run a copy of an old version of Dungeons & Dragons as your primary game, and you're like, I'm not buying 5e, I don't like this, that, or I had a problem with something they're putting in Strixhaven, right? Like, you are part of the problem that will allow Dungeons & Dragons to die, right? You're saying you like Dungeons & Dragons, but do you like Dungeons & Dragons if you're letting it die, right? That's my question to you, right? I think the answer is no. You don't actually like Dungeons & Dragons. You like your opinion, right? You like your politics. You like your comfort, right? You don't actually like Dungeons & Dragons, right? Because this is how things die, right? So if you're a relic runner, and by the way, relic runners, examples of those would be Five Torches Deep, OSC, there's quite a few, like retro clones, essentially, right? Just copies of older versions of Dungeons and Dragons, right? So honestly, I think I already know it, right? There are good people on the side. There are good people who are relic runners and are dungeon pastors. I'll give you two examples, right? Ben from Questing Beast. That dude, like, he's a saint. Like, he's one of the nicest, bestest people in the entire Dungeons & Dragons community, right? And another one would be Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review, right? Like, good guy, right? But the reality is, okay, I understand you like your politics. I understand you like your comfort. I understand you like your opinion, right? But large, international, mega IPs can die, okay? And you're like, oh, Scott, no, that's wrong. Go look at Harry Potter. It's happening right now, right? That thing's 20 years old, and they're doing a reunion that will not include the creator of the story, right? Like, trust me, like, large mega IPs, exactly like Dungeons & Dragons, can absolutely be destroyed, right? And how are things destroyed today? They're destroyed by neglect, right? I neglected to go just stand in front of this dusty old building that the Wright brothers built bicycles in, and now they're going to destroy it. I'm the cause, right? And it's not fair for me to say, yeah, I'm the biggest Wright brothers fan. I'm not, right? I am responsible for the raising of that building out of my own neglect. Don't be me on Dungeons & Dragons. Don't use your comfort, your opinion, your politics to stand by and watch as Dungeons & Dragons gets razed to the ground, right? Broken down into a pile of rubble and is no longer, right? It's wrong. And every American should be ashamed of what it, and I am, right, of what's happening to the Wright brothers bicycle shop. This should not be happening, right? But we were too me, I wanted my comfort, right? It was just more comfortable to go to the Lucky Cat Museum, right? It's sad. It's very, very sad. And so at the end of the day, don't be the person who lets Dungeons and Dragons get razed, Razed, from neglect. Right? If you love Dungeons and Dragons, get on Dungeons and Dragons now. Don't stay on Dungeons and Dragons then. That's my humble opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.